When my son was little, he used to ask me to race him regularly. At about 5 or 6, he said, "Mom, race me." We were out for a walk as a family. And at the time, I was actually training for a half marathon and I was quite fast. And so as he's asking me and he starts taking off for his run, I start to think to myself, is this a time where I let him win? Or is this the time where I beat him so he learns resilience and strength? And as I'm contemplating the decision and can't quite decide what to do, I notice that my son is about to run into a fence. And I say, "Stop." And he goes, "Ha ha, Mom, you're not going to get me to stop. I'm still going to win." I was like, "No, stop." Like I physically had to stop my body and put my hands out for him to stop. And he stopped just an inch away from running straight into a fence. He was so focused on me and looking at me and staring at me that he wasn't seeing the challenges that were right in front of him. And this is common when we look at our own emotional intelligence. We often will compare ourselves to other people. I love the United States Happiness Report that I just recently conducted. But before I had my own research, I used to share the think tank that works with the United Nations called the World Happiness Report. And they would interview people all over the country and throughout the world in their own native language, working with over 160 different languages and individuals to understand what makes happiness and if people from developed countries were happier than those from developing countries. And one of the questions that they asked was on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst possible life and 10 being the best possible life, how would you rate your life right now on a scale from 1 to 10? Now, you can take a second and answer this question as well. But interestingly enough, the statistics showed that the median answer was 5. Regardless of any other demographic circumstance, male and female, educated, uneducated, financially, money in the bank, no money in the bank, whether you lived in a developed nation or a developing nation, the median answer was still 5. And what we have found in our research is that's because people are doing a comparative approach to looking at their own emotional intelligence. Well, I am not as happy as the person down the street who just got a terrible diagnosis, but I am maybe happier than the person down the street who received a terrible diagnosis, but I'm not as happy as the people down the street who just went to Hawaii again for the millionth time. And we look at a very comparative nature in terms of our own emotional intelligence. That is actually pretty damaging. We cannot consider our happiness, our resilience, our levels of being able to handle the circumstances around us based off of how other people are doing things. There are so many different factors. I remember early on in statistics class where they would say things like, is that a confounding variable or is that actually affecting the statistics? And they all are confounding variables, whether they're your neighbors or friends, whether they make money or don't make money, whether they have income levels that you have or they are at a different place, education, non-education, circumstances of whether they have children or don't have children in their home. You cannot base your happiness based off of anyone else. In fact, one of the things that we found is that as you consider other people, as you look at your own emotional intelligence, you will only be able to see it through a skewed view. Just like my son, who was trying to run and trying to beat me because he was so focused about where I was, he couldn't see where he was going. It blinds us to what's actual reality, and we have to find ways to get out of that. Not to mention that each of us have our own personal circumstances that can affect how we approach the world. I'm always fascinated within the research that I do about the effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. And because I have an affinity towards veterans and military and their family, I'm also interested in the way that PTSD affects those who have served our country. And I found the research by Martin Seligman, and he said that there is one factor that determines whether or not someone will be able to overcome PTSD. It's not their access to mental health resources. It's not whether or not they have financial ability to get a good job. It's not whether or not they're married or single or have children at home. The number one factor that determines if someone can overcome their PTSD is just the belief that they will. If they believe that they will overcome it, even if it takes time, they will. But those who resign themselves to their diagnosis and say, this is just what I have forever, they have it forever. Their belief and ability to be able to heal is that number one factor. How can we look at that in our own lives? What is it that we can examine as we look at ways that we can be able to choose to have the happiness and resilience that we want, even if it takes a little bit to get there? You may have incredibly hard circumstances in front of you. I will not negate negate them or minimize them. I can just turn on the television and see crazy things happening in the world that are affecting not just what's happening to us, but our neighbors, our friends, and the people around us. There are so many stressors that affect and influence our emotional intelligence. But we have to decide today that we will not let any external circumstances, people or things or worldly or community affect who we are and how we show up. The world wants us to be sad. I think that it's interesting how news plays out. We don't see the good news. We don't see the happiness that's going on. We only see the hardship, the heartache, and the blood, the sweat and tears that's going into what's happening in the world. We have to be in charge and in control of our own emotions and not let external forces in any shape or form determine who we are. It is possible to be happy despite your circumstances. In fact, resilience is the number one trait that you need to survive in the world today. Your ability to know that you can bounce back and come back stronger after challenges will make you a better friend, make you a better partner, a better parent, and a better professional. Whether you own your own business or you work for someone else, you will be better able to handle your professional responsibilities as well. The research that we just conducted with the Center for Generational Kinetics talks about how resilience is the key thing that we need to improve our emotional intelligence and to help us be able to not only navigate the challenges that we've had now or in the past, but to be able to handle the challenges in the future. So as you consider what you're currently dealing with, how are you building your emotional resilience reserves? Many of us have found that they've been depleted over the last few years. Maybe you've had a personal challenge that makes it even harder. Maybe you are out of work and that professional resilience is non-existent right now. But things that you can put in place that are in your control will help you. When we talked about the race with my son earlier, one of the key factors is that we have to remember that we are not in a race, we are on a mission to accomplish the things in our own personal lives. So we need to be who we are, we need to show up as who we are, and we need to know that regardless of what someone else is doing, whether they're going faster or slower than us, that we can honor our lane and enjoy the ride. What can you do today to build your own resilience reserves without the effects of external influences, whether that's individual or whether that's in your community or in your world, that will help you to have that kind of emotional wellness that helps you to thrive? In a world where it's so much easier to just kind of white knuckle it through the challenges that we're facing, or to say that we don't have to be happy, we just have to get things done, I know that your emotional wellness will determine how you approach your future challenges. And I know that it will help you navigate them as well. So what is it that you can do? Our research showed that people are interested in learning more about resilience and happiness, whether that's from podcasts or books or even activities with team members and friends. So be proactive about the ways that you learn about emotional intelligence and about how you can improve. You can come back to more videos. We've got lots and lots of videos available for you on happiness and resilience so that you can continue to learn those skills. If you're like the many working Americans that we studied and surveyed, you will find that those resources will be helpful to you. In fact, 77% of working Americans said that colleges and universities should be teaching classes on resilience. Now, some of them are, but most are not, which means that you need to take your resilience education into your own hands and make it a priority in your life. What is it that you're doing to improve so that you can make your brain and be able to handle everything that we do? You've heard me say this before, but I will say it again, that in the age of artificial intelligence, emotional intelligence needs to be center stage. Now, more than ever, you need the ability to understand the difference between reality and artificial and virtual things that are all surrounding us. And you need to be able to have your own emotional wellness to be able to deal with the challenges that are happening. And so that the influx of knowledge that is crossing your brain, in your scroll, in your feed, and in your desk, that you have the emotional wellness and resilience reserves to be able to navigate all of those challenges and all that information that's coming your way. Make your resilience education your priority, especially this year, whether it's your number one goal or your number 3 goal. Make it a part of your daily, weekly, and monthly habits so that you can improve those reserves, not just for you, but for the people around you as well. Thank you so much for being here. We'd love for you to share your thoughts and comments. And until next time, we wish you all the best and make it happen.